Greetings YouTube and welcome back to another vlog. So yeah, I decided I would make another one, and I said that if I had time I would make another video, and here we are. So anyway, how has everyone been? I hope you're doing really well. I gotta be honest with you, my week hasn't been the best, if I'm being honest with you. But it's because I've been in work quite a bit, and I've had to deal with other stuff as well. And what doesn't help is the weather being really cold. Though to be fair, the weather's much better today than it has been during most of this week, because it's been really cold and we've had snow. So yeah, the cold weather does affect my mood a little bit, but yeah, I gotta be honest with you, it hasn't been a great week for me. But upwards and onwards, as they say. So anyway, what shall we talk about today and what are the topics? So yeah, we are going to start off with the football, as you'd expect. You know me by now, and I know you by now. Because I know most of you do enjoy me talking about football, even if you're not a fan of the sport, because I usually have an interesting rant and all that lot. So yeah, let's take it away. So yesterday, on Saturday, Liverpool lost 1-0 away to Bournemouth in the Premier League. And guess what? I predicted this. I knew this would happen. I knew we would lose to Bournemouth after beating Manchester United 7-0. I knew this would happen. I'm not exaggerating or anything. I was thinking, yeah. But I said in my last vlog, I said, don't be surprised if Liverpool end up losing to Bournemouth after destroying Manchester United 7-0. I called it. I knew it. And it's exactly what happened. Yeah. The reason why I knew this would happen was because I was thinking back to 2018 when we ended Man City's unbeaten run with an incredible 4-3 win at Anfield. What a game that was. And then the very next game, we go and lose to Swansea, who of course went down that season. But yeah, it always happens. Yeah, we beat Manchester United 7-0. We had a good laugh about it. So now the Manchester United fans have reciprocated this, and they've decided to banter us Liverpool fans. And you know what? I don't blame them at all. We do it to them, so why shouldn't they do it to us? Yeah. Yeah, and you should have heard what Mark Goldbridge was saying about Liverpool losing to Swansea. I gotta be honest with you. The banter that he was coming up with, I gotta be honest with you, it was pretty clever of him. Yeah. Yeah, he was bantering Liverpool about losing to the Cherries. So yeah. But I gotta be honest with you, I was laughing at the video, I really was, because you know what? Yeah, what I like about Goldbridge is he doesn't do it in a selfish way at all. He just, he does it, it's fun, it's part of football, and if you can't take banter, then you're a coward, and I don't think you should be following football. But that's what I like about football, you know. The banter and the interaction that you get from your rival fans. And you know what? It's something that everyone needs to take. And if you can't take it, then, yeah, you need to have a good hard look at yourself. Yeah, that's all I can say about that. But, yeah, the performance, yeah. What happened was, I felt that our players for Liverpool got... after the Manchester United result, I gotta be honest with you, I thought our players got a bit too arrogant and a bit too up their own arse after beating Man United. If I'm being truthful to you, because it's happened many times. Because yeah, it has been a piss poor season for Liverpool, and then people are thinking, oh yeah, this 7-0. Oh yeah, Liverpool are back to the best. But I knew for a fact, even during that 7-0 hammering, that Liverpool were far from their best. In fact, I still don't think we are back to our best. You can't just say, oh yeah, 7-0, here we go, we're going to batter everyone. It doesn't work like that, and you're quite deluded if you think otherwise. So yeah, we got a bit too arrogant and a bit too big for our boots, and we got humbled by Bournemouth. It's as simple as that, really. And yeah, there are some Liverpool fans, not the true proper Liverpool fans. I'm talking about the plastic ones. Yeah, they were getting so excited that, oh yeah, a 7-0 win has defined our season when it hasn't. And guess what some have done? They have made, I'm not kidding you, they have made mugs to celebrate Liverpool's 7-0 win over Manchester United. Yeah, it's our biggest win ever over our arch rivals, it is. And as I say, it's a moment that should be remembered. But putting it on the mug, I've got to be honest with you, it's a bit OTT. Yeah, because you can't just celebrate, oh yeah, look, we beat Manchester United, it's 7-0, and go ha 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 ha. When this season hasn't been ha 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 for us, it's been ha 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 for our rivals because we have been really poor this season. And then people are just, I don't know. But yeah, I've been supporting Liverpool for about at least 23 years. Yeah, I've been supporting Liverpool since, actually, I'd say I've been supporting Liverpool for nearly 25 years. So yeah, I think I've been a Liverpool fan since 1999, so anything about that, that's it. I'm used to this by now. In fact, I've been used to it for as long as I've been supporting the club, where we can go out and beat the big teams, but when it comes to like the minions and like the teams who are battling to stay in the league, we just struggle against them, and I don't know why. Well, I do know why in some games, because let's be honest with you, we get too confident and stuff like this happens, which it deserves to happen. We need to look at ourselves and do better. But it's always been like that. Whenever we beat a big team, we always go and lose to a small one straight away. And we have got some really tricky fixtures coming up. Like, I think our next game in the league is City away at the Etihad, which, let's be honest with you, just hand City the 3 points before even started. Then I think we've got Arsenal at home, and then I think we have Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. So we've got some tough fixtures coming up, and yeah, we shall see how that goes. But at the moment, I still don't think we'll finish in the top 4. But as I say, the only reason why the only hope of us finishing in the top 4 is other teams slip up, but we shouldn't be relying on other teams. The only team that Liverpool should be relying on is themselves. Focus on what they do at the end of the season, yeah, and see what happens. I mean, we're effectively out the Champions League because we got hammered 5-2 in the first leg. So there's no hope against playing Madrid at their home ground. If you lose 5-2 at Anfield, then it's job done for Madrid, and we shall see if they go on to win the Champions League. But yeah, Liverpool put in quite a gutless performance yesterday, as I expected, because we got too cocky. Yeah, I mean, at least it wasn't as bad as the England rugby game by France, though. Yeah, we got absolutely destroyed by France. Yeah, in the heaviest home defeat at Twickenham since the 1970s. So yeah, disgraceful performance though. Yeah, I watched that. And I mean, if England are going to put in a gutless performance against France in the Six Nations, imagine what Ireland are going to do to us when we next play them next week. I think it's next week we play them, or it could be a fortnight. I don't know. I assume it's next week, but either way, it doesn't really matter because England in the rugby just look absolutely clueless. Yeah, and France more than deserved to win. Quite, yeah. Enough said about that. So anyway, let's have a quick sip of my drink though. Though I don't know why I'm drinking cherry coke, considering we lost to the Cherries yesterday. And if you don't know who the Cherries are, that's the name that Bournemouth go by. So here we go. So yeah, we're not quite done talking about football because I'm sure you know what's happened in the news about Gary Lineker. So I will talk a little bit about it, and I understand that your opinions on this subject may be different from mine. I completely get it. I 100% respect whatever your viewpoint is, because, as I say, everyone's mind is different depending on what you see or what you think. But yeah, so what has happened out there? Yeah, the BBC have dropped Gary Lineker from presenting Match of the Day because of a few tweets he made, and yeah, I'll briefly mention the tweets that he made. So yeah, he was, I know, yeah, because of what's been going on with like the migration and stuff like that, what's been going on in the UK. Yeah, a lot of it's something to, I mean, a lot of it is politics, which, to be honest with you, I mean, subjects like that I stay away from as far as possible because, as I say, stuff like that is bound to cause arguments, and you know what? I'm not here to cause arguments or anything like that because, yeah, you're just wasting your breath. Yeah, so he was talking about they're about immigration, and yeah, and Gary Lineker was like comparing it to like was it yeah, well something to do with like is it communism or something like that. I probably made a right arse of that. Oh yeah, no, that's right. It's comparing it to like the Holocaust of like the 1930s and stuff like that. Which I mean, Gary Lineker is free to have his opinion, as are the rest of us. We're allowed to have our own opinion and all that lot. Whether you agree with what Gary has said and whether you like the fella is up to you. But I'm sorry, you should not be able to ban free speech because, quite frankly, you just succumb to what society wants you to think and say, yeah, we should not be controlled what our opinions are. We should be free and expressive. I mean, perhaps Gary could have worded himself a bit better. Yeah, possibly. But quite frankly, people have said much worse things and have gotten away with it. And people have done much worse acts and stuff, and yet they get a slap on the wrist, like the BBC protecting Jimmy Savile for decades. They knew exactly what he was doing, but they didn't want to do that. They didn't cancel him, but yeah, they decided to cancel Gary Lineker based on a few tweets that he made, which, let's be honest with you, I mean, you can be unhappy about it, but banning him for saying tweets that have absolutely fuck all to do with Match of the Day is ridiculous. I'll be honest with you, it was ridiculous. And that I especially find it ridiculous when you had people like Jimmy Savile doing the sick and disgusting things that he did. Yeah, they let him get away with, but yeah, a few offensive words. Oh yeah, that's more damaging than being a paedophile. Like, what the hell is that? I know it's two different subjects, but you get the idea. It's just absolutely sickening. Yeah, So nowadays, apparently, words are more harmful than words are apparently more offensive than acts that are much worse than an opinion. I mean, you don't have to agree with Gary. You don't have to like the fella, but for goodness sake, just let him have his own viewpoint, because it's getting to the point where free speech is becoming illegal. It might as well be. Yeah, it's a shame, because I feel as since social media has been around, problems like this have gotten a hell of a lot worse than what they were before, before Twitter and all them social media stuff. People just finding stuff to get more and more upset at, and it's always the littlest things that just seems to set them off. I mean, there are bigger problems in this world, but for whatever reason, it doesn't seem to bother them. There are much worse things out in this world. Yeah, people just sweep it under the carpet like as if nothing happened. But because they didn't like what Gary said, they decide to throw the toys out the pram and get all upset about it. I mean, I understand if you've had family members who were around during that time and were part of it. I get that, but most people are just, a lot of people, if I'm being honest with you, they just jump into the wrong conclusions, and it shouldn't be like that at all. But unfortunately, it is, and I feel as if problems like that are just going to snowball. Yeah, like I say, you're entitled to your opinion. I am. Does it mean that my opinion or your opinion is the right one? No. But it doesn't matter. All it is it's just an opinion. It's not fact. And if you cannot separate opinion from fact, then I pity you. I pity the fool. Even though that's probably the worst Mr. T impression I think I've ever done. And probably the worst one you've ever heard. But here you go. So, yeah. I mean, I could delve into it a bit more, but I don't know. I don't want to, because I'll be going into an unnecessary rant. So, anyway. But, yeah, my week... like I mentioned, my week has been the best, and I've had another setback, and that's my Commodore 64. The thing is, does my Commodore 64 work? Yes, it does. It works just fine, and it can read like the cartridge games. But for whatever reason, I'm having problems with my tape deck. And I thought, oh yeah, it hasn't read some of my games, but other than that, I think like at least 90 or 95% of my games work. Well, they did work until the tape deck decided to act up a bit. I mean, the cartridge games, well, I only have one cartridge game, and that's Terminator 2, which, yeah, that was the game that came bundled with the Commodore 64. I have the Terminator 2 back. Yeah, the cartridge, it loads perfectly, but for whatever reason, my tape player is just acting up. And so it means that I cannot play any of my games. So it looks like I'm going to have to replace the cassette deck so I can play my Commodore 64 games. I might have to look for that. If it happens to be the Commodore 64 itself, which hopefully all the fingers crossed the opponents on the system doesn't start failing. Hopefully all's good, but I reckon it's just the tape deck that needs replacing. And yeah, I have a cassette head cleaner to see if that will make any difference. It hasn't, I'm afraid to say, but it's always good to have one just in case, so it's good. However, when I was on the Friday Waffle with Mainmeister, yeah, I was mentioning this problem in the stream, and Colin Jones, he suggested something which I thought was actually a good idea. He suggested in like tape emulation where what you can do is you can like emulate emulate games, and then or get something that will play games just fine on your C64 with like yeah, it's some emulated thing that you have to use like the tape deck for, or something that will like read tapes, so you can like emulate games and just play them on your original Commodore 64. Which, yeah, I think I will have a look at that. Yeah, the stuff that he mentioned though was something called an Ultimate 2 Plus and a Tapuino. If I'm pronouncing that, I've probably butchered the pronunciation of that, but apparently it's something that could be useful when playing Commodore 64 games. So that's an interesting thought, because I've seen people like use like an adapter thing where they just play random games that will work on your computer. There's like loads of emulated things that you could get working on your ZX Spectrum or Amstrad, for example. So that could be a possibility. I might have to invest in one of them, because I just don't get why the Commodore, why the tape deck just isn't working on me C64. I mean, but sometimes you have days where it'll read the tapes just fine, and then other times it just won't. But recently it's just had a few issues reading it, and yeah. Yeah, but as I say, hopefully I could get that sorted. But yeah. So yeah, that's all I can really talk about the Commodore 64. So I can sort that out. So anyway, what have I been watching? So I'll talk about YouTube. Yeah, I briefly mentioned that Mark Goldbridge, yeah, he does football on YouTube. He does like football streams and all, a lot, and football related videos. Where I mentioned he made fun of Liverpool for losing to the Cherries. But you know what? It's good. It's good listening to his opinions, because I gotta be honest with you, out of the football channels that I've seen on YouTube, I find Mark Goldbridge to be the least biased when it comes, and 90% of the time, I gotta be honest with you, my opinions are very similar to his. I mean, okay, there are a few times where his perspective on things is different to a lot of football fans out there, but that's it. He's respectful. He's not afraid to. He's not afraid to speak his mind, but he does it in a way where. He does it in a way where it's not, how can I put it, where it's not, where it doesn't seem to piss a lot of people off, though a lot of people do get pissed off, despite the fact that he's explained his opinions very clearly, and not a lot. But some people just read the title of the video and then they go by what the title says and then start typing in absolute bollocks in the comments that have got absolutely nothing to what the video is about. Because sometimes the title of the video is completely different to what the actual content is. So yeah, that's one thing that some people fail to keep in mind, is that just because the title says something doesn't always mean that it's exactly that. It's like, I know I call these vlogs, but what I do here is like I don't know. I've lost what I was saying then. I had something in my head and then it just seems to vanish. But anyway, Mark Goldbridge is he's a likable person, though. As I say, there's quite a few people who don't like him for whatever reason, which fair enough. So yeah, that's all I can say about that. And then I was on the Friday waffle with Maymeister and Dell, and yeah, that was the stream where I was talking about I was having the problems with my Commodore 64 reading tapes. But yeah, they were talking about emulation, and it was interesting to hear stories about them talking about emulation on computers from like the early days to what they have now. And I know Maymeister Alan, yeah, he's been there. He's been emulating games since the very beginning. Even though he collects well, I won't say he collects, even though he has games for like the old computers that he had, like the Commodore 64, the Atari 800, and stuff like that. But yeah, he used to like emulating games. Well, he still does, but he was talking about when what it was like using like MAME back in the early days, and like I think he said the MAME started around 1997, I think. I'm saying that with a question mark because I can't remember, but it was definitely sometime in the late 90s. And back then he said that they used to give him updates as to what games would be able to be downloaded on there. So yeah, it's an emulation. An emulator that has improved significantly over the years, and like I say, it's still very much alive and kicking. Yeah, it's a great emulator for arcade games. So if you cannot play the games in the actual arcade, you can at least experience him here in the comfort of your own home. So yeah, so instead of just go like the arcades and playing, I don't know, Outrun or Street Fighter 2, you can play them here in the comfort of your own home. And yeah, I find it a very interesting emulator. So yeah, and he's mentioned other emulators since like they've had like emulators on like the Amiga, so you could play like Commodore 64 games on it, even though they said that they didn't run at the right speed, and often at times they ran like extremely slow and were a bit what's the word? What's the word I'm looking for? A bit it'll come to me. It does. I do that sometimes. I just lose track. Not glitchy, but I do something not right. Nah, I can't think of the word. I'm sorry. I give up trying to think. But yeah, all I can say is they didn't run properly, but emulators have gotten a hell of a lot better these days. And yeah, and now there's something called a mister. So if you don't know what a mister is, because I didn't know what one was until a couple of months ago. It's like this a weird looking box thing where you can download all kinds of ROMs and games onto it, and they have it where the games will play at the correct speeds, as most emulators don't play games at the correct speed. Because occasionally you'll have like times where it'll just slow down, or for whatever reason it'll just speed up. Whereas the Mister has the games running at the correct speed. Like I say, it's not perfect, but compared to most emulators, it's a godsend. I mean, from what I've seen of it, it is a bit pricey, and if it is a bit pricey, but from what I've seen of it, I can see why people would pay the amount of money that it is. I mean, hopefully the prices of them will start coming down, and I may look for one myself if some of my older game consoles start failing on me, and it'll save me quite a bit of money replacing them. Yeah. So it's an interesting thought. But yeah, I personally prefer playing games on original hardware, if and when possible. But the only times where it's not available is if it's something that I can I cannot afford, whether it be a game or a console, if it's something that I cannot afford, or if it's something that has never been released here in the UK. Though I know you can buy import consoles and all that lot, or you can buy adapters so you can play like Japanese games on on original hardware without any sort of emulation. But it's good for emulators are good, especially if it's a Japanese game that has been translated into English. Though most of the time the translation from Japanese to English is a bit questionable, but more often than not, they do translate it in English. So that's an interesting thought. So yeah. Other than that, what have I been watching besides Mainmeister and Mark Goldbridge? Oh yeah, that's right. Adele did a video on Boulder Dash for the Commodore 64. And yeah, it's one of those games that it by nature it looks simplistic. All you're doing is you're making it through levels, trying your best not to get crushed by boulders, and yeah, you have to use puzzles. Well, no, you have to use your head to figure out some of the puzzles, and yeah, you have to collect like these diamonds. But you have to move quickly because if you don't move quick enough or move a certain way, you will get crushed by a boulder and voila. But yeah, I know it's one of those games. It has a simple premise, but the gameplay, yeah, and the replay value that it has is absolutely superb. I think it's a great game, Boulder Dash. I really do. And controversially, I don't think the Commodore 64 version is the best one. I'd say it's probably the second best, because I feel as if the best version of that one is on the Atari 800. Yeah, like I think that's a great version, as is it's a brilliant version, as is like Bruce Lee. That's what I like about some of the old school games. So there's no fancy story, there's no fancy graphics or anything like that. Sometimes you just can't be arsed with dealing with things like that. All you just want to do is sort of just plug your controller in, turn the TV on and play the game and have fun. And that's what it should be about sometimes. Because that's the problem I have with a lot of modern games, is just that they seem a bit too long for my liking. I mean, there are some games where I actually don't mind it. Don't mind it so much, like Final Fantasy VII, though. I love that game to hell and back. It's my second favourite video game of all time. It's my second favourite. My favourite video game of all time is Tomb Raider 2 on the PlayStation 1. Brilliant. Though my favourite childhood game was Crash Bandicoot 3 Warped. I still like the game, but looking back at it, I think I liked it more, loved it a hell of a lot more as a kid than I do now, but I still think it's a great game. I prefer Crash Bandicoot 2 nowadays, because with Crash 3 though, it's the most ambitious one, because it has like, you get to like ride a motorbike, a jet ski, and like riding a tiger. Yeah, there's plenty of stuff like that, but I don't know, I gotta be honest with you, a lot of that game does feel a bit gimmicky with like the time travel periods and all that lot. But yeah, I feel the story's a bit generic, but it doesn't matter. I still think it's a great game and all that lot. But that's it. I don't mind I don't mind games with a compelling story, but I don't want it where you're watching the game more than you're bloody playing it. I'm thinking, you know what, I'll just watch a bloody movie. That's all it is. Yeah, but it works well in the game like Final Fantasy VII, because it's got characters that are likeable. But getting back on track about Boulder Dash, but yeah, yeah, watching Delhi seem to enjoy the game just as much as I do, or most people do, because yeah, it's a highly regarded classic, and yeah, the game itself is almost 40 years old, and that's it. I find games from before the 21st century more enjoyable. I find games from the 20th century, more enjoyable than what we have had in the 21st century. Now, don't get me wrong, we've had some good games from the year 2000 onwards, but I don't know, I feel as if anything before, well, anything from 1999 and before were better, because back then there was more gameplay than there was graphics. I mean, of course, you had games back then that still look gorgeous, but unfortunately the gameplay isn't so kind on them. And that's one thing that I remember some person mentioned about Tomb Raider, about the controls being clunky and all that lot. But when you've played the game, so much like I have, when you played the games, you're that used to it, you don't really notice. And then you get these people who just complain that all the graphics are they're blocky and all that lot. I'm thinking, for fuck's sake, you're just looking for things to nitpick. Yeah, okay, it may have aged graphically, but you have to use your imagination and try and imagine what it would look like imagine what it would look like as if you're in the real world. And that's it. A lot of people, unfortunately, are more focused on the graphics that they completely forget about the gameplay. So yeah, to some individuals, graphics are more important than graphics are more important and visuals are more better than the actual gameplay. I'm like, you're not there to look at a game, you're there to play it. Yeah, it's good that you get absorbed into the environment. That's one thing, but your aim is to play the game. You bought it for a very reason. You bought it for that very reason, so I suggest you stick with it for that. Yeah, so there's no point to... It's like having an attractive person, yeah, but it's like having an attractive a person who has next to no personality. And that's why it's like with a lot of modern games, it's getting to the point where I'm done with modern video games. I really am. I mean, I may get a PS5 in the foreseeable future, or an Xbox Series X, but like I say, only time will tell. But for the time being, I'm only interested in the retro stuff, because to me, that's what I find to be the most enjoyable. And that's what I like about Boulder Dash on the Commodore 64 or whatever system it came on, because like I say, there isn't a bad version though. The Spectrum version is a bit jerky. So that's that. So yeah, anyway, what else I've been watching? So TV wise, I don't really watch much TV these days. Yeah, I didn't even bother watching Match of the Day last night, because what they've done is, because BBC made a right bodge job of it. Yeah, I heard that. Yeah, they shortened it to 20 minutes, and instead of commentary from usual commentators, all you just heard was crowd noises and all that lot. But yeah, I used to hearing the commentary, especially from the late great John Motson. Yeah, he'll be missed. But like I say, it's just not the same. I sort of like hearing a good commentator. Even though, like I say, we've had some great pundits over the years, there's a few that I've not enjoyed. And yeah, I know Alan Shearer and Ian Wright have stepped down. So I wonder what's going to happen. I wonder what the future is going to be for Match of the Day. I'm worried that it'll end up like Grandstand, where it'll just come to an end, which is a shame, because Grandstand, though, was... let's be honest with you, it was a massive part of British TV, massive part of being British. Every Saturday, The only thing you had on TV was Grandstand. Nothing else. Even if you had, didn't matter if you had like cable or just normal TV at the time. Everyone tuned into to Grandstand, not just for the football, but for like the horse racing, the rugby, and a few other sports that were involved. And great. It was great, presented by the late Des Lynam, even Jimmy Hill, who of course both of them would do much of the day. But you know what? That was a staple of Saturday TV, and like I say, yeah, I watched that near enough every Saturday, even when I was a young kid. And yeah, the theme tune to Grandstand is one of the most iconic ones. And the program stopped. The program came to an end in 2007. Though, you know what? Yeah, it's quite sad. You know, because as a massive part of British TV, massive part of what made this country great. And like I said, it's a shame that it had to come to an end, because it was great, a proper British staple, and like Match of Day's a British staple. Not now after what's happened. So yeah, watch the show crumble. So and so that's really that. What else have I watched on TV? I gotta be honest with you, there isn't much on TV nowadays. But yeah, I sort of just watch like your reruns, you know, even though I've seen them all the time, like Only Fools and Horses. Yeah, I sort of just watch like reruns of that. I watch reruns of Top Gear, only the ones with Jeremy Clarkson, Richard Hammond, and James May, because to me they were Top Gear, not Paddy McGuinness. He gets on my absolute tits. He really does. Yeah. And then on Channel 4, like on some mornings, I don't watch it every morning, but like I say, sometimes if there's nothing on, I'll watch like a rerun of like the King of Queens. Like the King of Queens, Frasier, which I've mentioned more times than I can imagine. I'll try my best not to talk about it, but I can't help it, because that's it. Sometimes when it's a show or it's something you love that much, you can't help but go on about it. But when I do these vlogs, I've got to like try and remember that, you know what, I don't want to bore myself by talking about the same things over and over again. I only want to talk about the stuff that I feel that I want to discuss. And that should be that. So, what else? Have I got anything else written down? I'm just looking at my notes. No, I haven't really got anything else to discuss. So hopefully next week, I want to try and upload a bit more on the channel, because I've been far too busy this week, and yeah, I'm hoping I can, because like I've been busy, and I'm hoping next week will be a more enjoyable one, because I gotta be honest with you, this week for me hasn't been particularly great. But yeah, but we have weeks like that. Sometimes you just don't feel yourself, and you just want things to be a bit more favourable. But like I say, it doesn't always happen. So anyway, I think I will call this vlog an end, and I hope you've all enjoyed this video, and I will see you very soon. So until then, take care.